Hi, everyone. It's Barbara Biziou, and we are continuing with our inspired conversations around Women's History Month. And I have a woman here that is going to blow you out of the water because she's blown me out. And you know that I know a lot of amazing, amazing people, especially amazing women. So I just want to read a little because I can't even remember how many things she's done by heart. So I want to introduce you to Joann. Who is totally, totally amazing. She started out, and she's going to tell you more details later, in clinical practice in New York, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin. She was a nurse. She worked in intensive care. And then she wound up being on the faculty of UW-Madison School of Nursing. Um, just so you know, everybody, and I hope you don't mind me telling people, Joann Pritchett, she is 86 years young. Okay. You know, I complain that I'm getting old and my friends, but I have to tell you, you give me hope. You really give me hope for what's going on. She was Assistant Dean and Director of Multicultural Affairs Programming and Pharmacy at UW-Madison. Um, and even after she retired, how old were you, Joann, when you retired?
I think I was 68, 69.
Okay, so at the young age of 68 or 9, when she retired, she still was very active and she became a board member of WIHA, Wisconsin Institute for Healthy Aging, right? Really important right now. She was on many committees, and I love that she was a founding board member of the African American Health Network and the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness. And then, and it keeps going, by the way, and then she worked with the Grace Episcopal Church, a Just More community, as they grappled with addressed racism, which is such a big issue, as we all know. And she developed a 4-week workshop called When the Diagnose is Racism. We're going to hear some of this. But the really exciting news is this woman now has decided that she is going to run for Alder in her state right now in the ninth district, correct? Tell me if I'm wrong on that. So she is going back into politics. And what really to me is just so amazing is right now, so many people I know are on overwhelm. They read the news and they complain and they bitch and they moan and maybe they march or they donate some money, but they don't know what to do right now, how to
Yeah,
make things better. I know some people think things are okay, but the majority of people personally that I know don't think things are okay and they don't like what's happening. And this woman decided she wasn't going to sit around and complain and listen, but she was going to actually run for politics and make a difference. And one other thing that I want to say that I don't think anyone young really understands is Joann was born during segregation. It actually existed, just like when I was born, there were a lot of things that, a woman couldn't get a credit card without a man signing for it until 1972. So anyone young, I don't think you realize all of the things that we older people have gone through. So I'm going to turn it over to her. And the first question I want to ask you, Jen, welcome, 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 is why are you running? What made you decide? What was that thing that said, wait a minute, I'm going to run?
well, one of the things that's very, very important to me is my voice. And my voice was muted, as a child,
Mm.
primarily because of segregation. There were things that you couldn't do, things that you couldn't say. So once, I gained my voice, and this was after, the Civil Rights Act and things like that, getting your voice, making sure you use your voice. So, knowing what happened to me, what happened to my parents, the big thing for me is to always be able to speak up and speak out for things that you know is wrong.
Mm.
And so my voice gives me that opportunity. Well, here in the Madison area, I live in the ninth district. We have an alder whose primary job is to be the voice for the constituents.
Mm.
So if that is not happening at the table, you can't send all of the members of people within the district to the table. Someone has to be your voice. Currently, we don't have a voice. So me, I want to be the voice.
I love it. So,
Constituents of the
question,
night.
because I'm sure a lot of people will ask you. So, based on your incredible history, I mean, you've had an amazing careers with an S. What skills did you develop, do you think, from those careers that can help you in government today, that can make you a really strong alder?
Well, one of the important things in nursing is one of the big concepts or career paths as a professional that you develop. And that path primarily aligns with being able to conceptualize and look at the big picture. You
Hmm.
can't just look at it from one angle. You got to look at it from many, many angles. So knowing too then that there are constituents then who come from just about every socioeconomic strata, you have to begin to look at what it is that they face, what it is that people who are from low socioeconomic statuses share as well. So being able to look at your problems then from a perspective of someone who has little income versus a person who has a high income. Looking at the issues, economic issues, looking at social issues, looking at health issues, all of those things nursing teaches you to do, especially when you're looking at that patient holistically.
Holistically, I was going to say, so you're not
Yes,
just saying, oh, someone broke their arm. You're looking at the whole picture, the whole body, the whole mind, body, spirit, so to speak. And you're taking that and bringing it into politics, which is quite amazing. So, why do you think, and I actually do agree with this, why do you think age is your strength in this case now? As
well,
opposed
age
to
is
some
my
people going, you're too old, you shouldn't do it, you don't have the energy, which obviously you do have the energy just even listening to you.
well, I like to compete with them on the track. And I say, bring it. But the one thing that's important to me, and it's a phrase that I learned years ago, and it says simply, in youth, we learn. In age, we understand.
Oh, wait, that's worth repeating. Say that one more time.
In youth, we learn. In age, we understand.
I absolutely, absolutely agree. And I really love that you're honoring that because, back when elders were really considered wisdom beings and people went to them for real advice because they had, like you said, a bigger view of
Right.
things. They didn't compartmentalize. So you're taking your wisdom of your 86 years and really moving that into something else that can really make a difference for people because you saw what didn't work, you saw what wasn't possible, and you saw what was, and then things being taken away and moving into it. So, what, I mean, I think we answered it, but in a way, why are you the best candidate? Because we want people to vote for you, obviously, right?
Yes, we do. Well, one of the things, and I use the analogy, we know that there are recipes, okay, for cakes, for
Hmm.
pies, for things like that. But age offers you an opportunity to modify.
Hmm.
So you can have a problem. You know, in a cake, you can add, let's say, a half a cup of sugar, but someone else puts a quarter of a cup of sugar in it. So you have the basic recipe, but age provides you with an opportunity to modify it. We're going to tweak it a little bit this way, tweak it a little bit that way, but you still have a cake that
Right.
can bring more people to the table than those who couldn't come because you didn't modify it.
Wow. So
That's
what do you
very, very
what
important.
do you think, Joanne, the biggest issues are in your community, and then kind of comparing it to the biggest issues in the country right now?
Well, I think when we look at, the many, many problems that we face here in the United States, many of them we find right here in the ninth district. Now, the environment is very, very important. Okay, we know climate change exists, but we still have naysayers out there. One of the things that I don't think youth understands, okay, is that they're going to inherit the mess that has been created simply because we didn't look at and or address the many problems that we have. But more importantly, I think the voice at the table does not have the experience to understand that. As I
Mm,
said before, in youth, we learn. In age, we understand. I see what has happened, but yet to ignore it because you are youthful
right.
makes it difficult
So do you
until
believe
you can.
that the Alder right now is coming from a more limited viewpoint? Not that he may be doing everything wrong, but that his viewpoint is much more limited than yours?
Much, much more limited because you just can't look at it, in terms of, looking at a tree. But if you don't understand how that tree helps us in terms of cleaning up some of the stuff that we spew out,
Right.
then you're limited.
No, I agree. I'm a huge believer in nature and our connection and our sacred connection. And people who know me know I do a lot of work around grounding and,
Mhm.
earthing and really, because I feel it is so important that we're in relationship with Mother Earth. I mean, she's our mother. I mean, she takes care of us on a really practical level. I'm not being metaphysical right now. I
Right.
mean, we breathe oxygen and she gives it to us.
We do.
We breathe out carbon dioxide, and that's what the earth needs. So it's a really an ecosystem
It
that really
is.
works unless we interfere with it. So
But
the
we
environment, and I saw something that I really liked, your whole idea of rent to buy. I
yes.
thought that was so empowering because so many, especially young people today, despair about ever being able to own an apartment, a home, anything, because the prices have gotten insane. The everything there. So I love that you're talk about that a little.
Well, I know from growing up, what we had, what we didn't have and what we had. I also know as a result of having lived in New York and Chicago, once again, knowing what I didn't have. But I also know too that my dad always said, when you grow up and you get to own some property, own some property. Now there are benefits to that, meaning for the person who rents an apartment, at the end of that rent cycle, whenever they choose to move, what do you have? You paid your rent, part of your rent went towards property taxes, etc. But you have nothing to show for it. But if you are offered an opportunity to rent to buy, that's an investment.
Hmm.
Many people who cannot afford an apartment, what do they have after they move out? I'm looking at how do you create wealth? And you can create wealth if you have an opportunity to invest in something. You are investing in a property now. In addition to that, people who own something are much, much more likely to care for that property
Absolutely.
because it's an investment. This is how you create generational wealth. And you can't do that if you don't have the opportunity. In addition to that, there are many, many people who don't have, let's say, a good credit score.
Right.
Okay. This is one way to override that.
So
If
how
you
does
have,
it actually work in nuts and bolts?
well, when you have, let's say, here in the Madison area, there is a credit union, okay? And the
Mm,
credit union, one of the things that they try and do is to really, really engage and help people own a home. And so they give them classes on how to budget,
hmm.
classes on how to maintain. Okay, this is how you grow your money. If you have debt, okay, that's $30,000, how do you begin to decrease that debt so that your credit score can go up, such that you can get a mortgage? Those are some of the little things that the credit union can do for you. This is how you go about the whole process of investing such that you can purchase a home. But
Right.
the rent to buy option is out there for you. And those classes too will provide you.
That's fabulous. So I have another question. Since this is Women's History Month, and you are a woman,
Yes.
and not all women were raised to share their voice and to take risks. And I mean, you even tried out for the Amazing Race at 72, right? I mean,
Yes, I
I keep
did.
hearing these other things about you, and it's like, oh my God, how
Yeah.
fabulous, right? Um,
Yes.
was where did you get this guidance or strength? Was it your family? Was it your church? Did you just have it inside of you all the time? Where do you think it came from for you, in essence? I mean, as a woman growing up, in what, the 40s, the 50s, there were certain expectations. And like I said, then came the 60s, and then, the death of Medgar Evers, and there were a lot of sit-ins, and people, rallied, and a lot of things started to change. But you weren't brought up, and maybe you were. That's what I'm really curious about. As a woman, what gave you the chutzpah, so to speak? That's a very Jewish, Yiddish term
Yes.
there,
Yes.
although everyone in New York knows what I'm saying,
I
um,
did.
to go and do it. I'm really curious about that.
Well, part of it did come from growing up because if you were, let's say, taking the bus to school, you would always have, kids, white kids, who would throw things at the bus. Now,
Mm,
remember, buses were not air conditioned at that time, so the windows were up.
mm,
So you were at risk for whatever was hurled at you through a bus window.
mm.
So if dog poop, rotten eggs, or things like that were hurled at you, then
Wow.
this was one way for you to, or another way to be humiliated, etc. I can remember having stuff thrown at me and then having to get off the bus and go home to have my clothing changed
Mm.
simply because of someone else's act of violence or someone's hatred. So learning how then not to be humiliated. I can remember my mom saying, then don't get on the bus, just walk. So walking became something that I did every day. Then in college, I started running.
So interesting.
Running was something that I did. So I looked at those things, but then when I add on to that, my dissertation was on sex role orientations. Why is it that there are women's jobs and men's jobs? What is it, what's the role of the mother? So there were two professors on the UW-Madison campus who started a study in 1957, and it dealt primarily with the influence of mom and the influence of dad. Now, contrast that with Black families, okay, where most people of the literature stated that the mother was the matriarch, okay, in the family, because there was primarily like an absentee father. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. But mother's occupation, mother's job played a critical role, okay? The whole nurturing thing. But the literature, once again, had defined you. Just think about going to a card store and it has blue cards on it. It's a girl, pink. It's a
Right.
boy, blue. Then that sets the stage for saying boys do this and girls do that. And for me, I said, hell no. No one tells me what I can and what I can't do. So in my brain, then, I'm defining who I am without allowing someone to define me.
So did that come from an internal resource, or did that come from your parents telling you you could do whatever you want, even if you're a girl,
You can do whatever you want as long as you're happy.
as
And
long
then
as you're
part
happy?
of it,
Told you.
yes, and part of it came from being mad.
So you
Being,
turned that anger into really something very positive. And I think right now that's a good lesson for all of us now is if you're feeling that righteous anger, instead of letting it eat you up and be like poison, take some action, um, to your point, and run for politics at the age of 86. I mean,
that's
why not?
right. Yep.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that age should limit me.
I love that.
I tell me.
I absolutely love that. So, what's the best way people could help you right now? Obviously, we want people in your district. So, everyone listening, if you know anyone in the ninth district in Madison, correct? Tell me if I need more facts here.
Good.
Please reach out to all your friends, your family, and just vote for this woman, Joann Pritchett. I mean, an amazing, amazing woman, because you could do some real good out there for sure. Do you have a website you'd like people to know about? Or I know we're posting this also on Facebook, so people can go to your Facebook page.
Yes, that would be joannpritchett.com.
Okay,
That's
joannpritchett.com. Okay,
right.
we'll put that on. And so, do you have any advice for young women right now about going into politics or, really having your voice heard? What would you tell a young woman today?
I would tell young women, plant it in your brain, okay, that you have the power to think. Don't ever let anyone take away your power to think. And
Hmm.
when I say think, meaning don't allow someone else's recipe. You modify that recipe however you want. Just remember, too, that just because you were born female, which was not your choice, that you can still aspire to become this or to become that. But you cannot let someone get into your brain and tell you that just because you're female, this is what you are supposed to do. Rather, you say, this is what I'm going to do.
Joanne, I can't wait to meet you in person. You are amazing, really. Have to thank Andrea, your niece, for introducing us. So
Well, she
everybody,
drives me crazy sometimes.
well, everybody drives everybody crazy sometimes, right? It doesn't matter if you love them to death. So everybody, please share this with anyone you know in the Madison area, Wisconsin, and let's get out to vote for this woman. You deserve, I'll vote for you for president, actually. Forget about Alder. I'll vote for you for president. You'd make an amazing president. Anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you, Joanne. This has been an absolute pleasure. And happy, happy International Women's Month. So thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, this has been totally amazing, really. Thank you.